Welcome, fellas, to the Savor Bro Show, episode 77, Inflating the Shattered Ego. I'm going to teach you how to heal your broken ego today, and this is a problem that most men have. Just stay tuned. But anyway, guys, welcome back to the Savor Bro Show. Today, we're going to tackle something that runs deep for so many men, healing a shattered ego. You see, I initially, guys, got into this. You know, I told the story before, but I initially got into this, because I wanted guys to be more player, but I realized something in doing this. You can't be more player. And when I say player, I don't mean having a bunch of women. I mean being a real stand-up dude, and the byproduct of that is, people liking you and you being attractive. But you can't be more player if your foundation isn't solid, right? A shattered ego is more than just a bruised sense of pride. It's a deeply fractured sense of self-worth and identity. It's that voice in your head telling you you're not good enough, you're not capable, and you're not deserving. It makes you second guess yourself, hold back from opportunities, and stay stuck in cycles of fear and self-doubt. In this episode, we're going to break down exactly what a shattered ego is, how it shows up in your life, and most importantly, how you can heal it. Because let's face it, guys, you can't build the life you want if you operating from a broken foundation. Stick with me today, fellas, because by the end of this episode, you'll have the practical tools to start picking up the pieces, rebuilding your confidence, and moving forward stronger than ever. And don't forget, if you're looking for my step-by-step guide to protecting your peace and building better relationships, getting quality women, then check out my program, How to Vet Women Properly. The link is in the description. Now, let's get into it. Let's get into the game real quick, fellas. And I'm not going to try to be as long as I was the last episode. And on the last episode, if you just finding me for the first time, this is a series that I'm doing on the ego. And the first one that I did, the last episode, which was episode 76, you can go check that out, was, healing an inflated ego, like having a too big of an ego and how it hinders your life. Today we're doing the shattered ego, right? And I'm doing this because I noticed something. When I got into this, again, I wanted guys to be more player. I wanted to teach guys to be more player, be more, be more of that dude. But what I realized was a lot of guys have a broken foundation. Most guys that I've coached have an ego problem, right? There are some guys who have a big ego problem, but most guys that I've coached in doing this have a shattered ego. And that shattered ego, let me give a percentage. I would say about 60 to 70% of the guys that I've coached or talked to personally in the 6.5 years doing this have a shattered ego. And so I realized something. It more from, how to be more player or how to be a player, because that's what's the name of my first YouTube channel. That's still the name of the email that I use for, general purposes. I realized that, again, you can't be player or you can't be that dude if your foundation is broken. And, I can give you all the game in the world. If the foundation ain't right, the game ain't gonna motherfucking matter. I wanted to do this episode because this isn't talked about a lot. This type of stuff isn't spoken on because people are scared to, touch on this subject or dig in the chest of their following or expose this part of men. But in order to get right, in order to fix it, we have to address it. And again, this is something that I've seen firsthand because I'm a coach. I'm not just a content creator. I create content to drive traffic to my services. I create content to provide value to our audience, to grow my audience, to get my message out there. But ultimately, that drives traffic to my services. And so what I'm saying is I do this. I've been in the trenches coaching these guys. I've seen it. No matter how much game I give a dude, it's like pouring into a cup with a hole at the bottom of it. No matter how much skills you give them, no matter how much courses they read, no matter how much raw information, if it don't mean nothing to a broken foundation. And those guys can only take guys like that. They take the game in it and they be manipulative with it. If they don't get it, they have to be manipulative and play people. So, I wanted to do this. So we can set the record straight and we can get guys the help that they need so they can start living the lives that they want. But let's get into it. What is a shattered ego? A shattered ego is a deeply fractured sense of self-worth and identity, resulting from significant emotional wounds, trauma, or repeated failures, right? It occurs when a person's self-perception is broken or diminished to the point where they no longer feel confident, capable, or valuable. Unlike the inflated ego, which I talked about last week, which compensates for insecurities, inflated egos compensates for insecurities. A shattered egos often manifest as self-doubt, fear, and excessive vulnerability, right? So that's what a shattered ego is. And again, today, this episode is about helping guys identify that and heal that so they can live the lives that they want to live. And most of the guys have broken, shattered egos. 60 to 70% of the guys that I've coached, that's their main problem. It's the reason why they're scared to approach women. It's the reason why they stay in toxic situations. And I get on all this stuff later. But also, too, guys, bear with me. Bear with me because I'm a little bit under the weather. So if I sound nasally or if the flow ain't as, if the flow is not as, the flow is a little bit choppy or I sound down, it's up because I'm under the weather. And usually what I would do, if I'm under the weather, I say, y'all got to wait until next week. But, we've been so long without the game that, I gotta push through it, and I got to give y'all this game, rain, sleet, hail, or MF and snow. I'm trying not to curse so much, but first what we're going to do, right, we're going to break it down into sections. We're going to talk about the symptoms first, right? We're going to talk about the symptoms, and I'm going to teach you how to recognize if you have a shattered ego. And I want you guys to be honest with yourself when you hear this. And if you think you don't and you think you are right, I want you to listen to this anyway, because you may see some stuff and hear that speaks to you. Because everybody, if you grew up in this country or anywhere in the world today, everybody has a little bit of problems. Everybody can identify with something. Now, you may not be, a weenie or nothing like that. You may not be a guy that's down in the dumps all the time, or you may, a guy that don't lack confidence. You may not be that guy, but, maybe this could help you. And if it can't help you, it can help your son, or it can help your cousin or your brother. So even if you feel like this is, you're above this, I want you to listen to it anyway. But let's get into the symptoms, right? The first symptom of, and again, I'm going to try to go faster than I did last time. I was damn near almost 2 hours last time. The first symptom of a shattered ego is internalizing rejection. And this is something that a lot of guys do. You see it in the space. This is why a lot of guys are bitter. When they are rejected from something, whether it's a job, affection, a woman, whatever, they internalize it as if it's something wrong with them. One of the main DMs that I get, there's other ones that top this, but one of the more common DMs that I get is, what happened? Everything was going good. What happened? I approached this girl at the gym. What did I do wrong? She shot me down. What did I do wrong? Stuff was going so good, I thought, on the date, and it went nowhere. What did I do wrong? That's a person internalizing rejection as if it's them. Most of the times, a person rejecting you has nothing to do with you, even if that person isn't attracted to you. And that person has the right to be attracted to you. But when you have your ego is shattered and your ego is bruised, it's almost, I don't want to say entitlement, but you feel like you take it personal when somebody rejects you, when a woman rejects you. And it's not personal, even if she's not attracted to you. Most of the times when you go talk to a woman or you deal with a woman, it be a million things going on. She may be on a period. She may be bloated. She may be got a thyroid issue. She may be getting cheated on. She may be can't figure out how to pay her bills, whatever the case may be. And she may not be open in the space to dealing with men right now, or dealing with you, or dealing with whoever, or may not be open for romance right now. But y'all will go talk to a woman, they turn you down, and you make you feel less than, because you put women so high on the pedestal, and you do that because you don't have yourself there. Right? So when she rejects you and turn you down, you think that you did something wrong. And she just don't like you, or she just had something else going on. That don't got nothing to do with you. You understand? I want you guys to stop doing that. Stop internalizing rejection. It has nothing to do with you most times, and all of the time, because like I said, even if even if you're not her cup of tea, she's entitled to that. She have a right to like what she want, and maybe you're not it. Maybe you're a white guy and she like black dudes, or maybe you're a black dude and she like white guys or Spanish guys or tall guys or whatever the case may be. You gotta find your tribe. You gotta find the women who enjoy you. You got to find the women who like you. And there are women who like you, whether you're short, white, black, Indian, Asian. There are groups of women. There's at least 30,000 women, 50,000, 100,000 women that like you on this planet. And you ain't going to be able to sleep with 100,000 women. So go out there and talk to women and mingle with women until you find the one who appreciates you. But don't internalize and make yourself feel less than because somebody don't like you or somebody don't give you a shot. And it has nothing to do with you. You understand? Now, the next symptom is negative self-talk, right? And that's constant inner dialogue that reinforces your sense of failure or inadequacy. And what do I mean by that? Labeling yourself with like absolutes, such as I'm lazy or I'm a loser or I can't do this or I can't do that. Right? That's negative self-talk. What else? Avoiding new challenges because because you think of stuff like, oh, I'm going to just fail anyway, or this is not for me. And so you avoid taking on new challenges. And when you don't take on new challenges in life, you don't grow and you stay stagnant, right? You avoid this type of stuff because your inner dialogue tells you that you can't do something, and you have to change that narrative, and I'll get into that in a second, but you can't go through life thinking like that, right? Feeling guilty for prioritizing yourself. That's a part of negative self-talk. When you put yourself first, you feel guilty. Listen, there's no way I'm going to ever feel guilty about self-preservation and put myself first. But a lot of y'all feel guilty when you put yourself first, and there's nothing wrong with putting yourself first, because if you ain't straight, nobody else up under you or nobody else you taking care of or nobody else in your life can be straight. So you have to put yourself first, right? You tell yourself you selfish if you say no to somebody, or if you don't do somebody a favor, you start feeling bad because you don't sacrifice yourself. You don't have to sacrifice yourself for nobody, right? Because nobody's entitled to your help or your attention or your money. Nobody's entitled to that. And you have a right to put yourself first, right? Saying things to yourself like, as far as dating, right, and women, saying stuff like, oh, she's out of my league, I shouldn't try. Ain't no woman out of your league. Ain't no woman out of my league, at least. Because there's no woman walking that can do what I can do. Women are great at the things that they can do, and there's a lot of things that women can do that I can't do, or I don't have the capacity to do. But I don't feel like there's nobody out of my league, because we breathe the same air, and we're going to end up at the same place anyway. We bleed the same. She bleed once a month. She's a regular human being. This, when you say stiff stuff like this and you're scared to approach women, or you're scared to talk to women or deal with women, that's negative self-talk. And you'd be surprised if you put yourself out there and you be assertive about what you want, you'll be surprised at the type of women that'll give you, that'll give you some airtime. And when I say give you some airtime, that means, that'll mess with you, that'll deal with you. You'll be surprised. And so, another one is, if I show her my true self, and a lot of y'all do this, let me touch on this. If I show her my true self, she'll leave. A lot of y'all are faking the funk in relationships. A lot of y'all fake the funk with women. A lot of y'all feel as though you can't get comfortable in relationships. And I don't want to say I've been guilty of this, but I've been coming up younger. I've been conditioned as well as you can't get comfortable in a relationship. You can't get comfortable. But at this big old age and the level that I've matured to now, to hell with that. I want to be comfortable in my relationship. If I'm out in the world uncomfortable, slaying the dragon, bringing home the bacon, and dealing with all of these battles, right? I want to come home and be comfortable. And I'm going to only fuck with women who like me at my comfortable self, period. But you believe if you show your true self, who you are truly, you believe that she'll leave you, right? All of that is negative self-talk. That's a negative inner dialogue, and that's one of the symptoms of um, a shattered ego. Now the next one is low self-worth, right? And that's a deep feeling of inadequacy or believing that you're not good enough as a man, right? Avoiding opportunities because of self-doubt. Scared to go ask for that promotion, scared to start that business, scared to start that new hobby, scared to take on that challenge because you don't believe you're worthy. You doubt yourself, right? Constantly comparing yourself negatively to others, scrolling Instagram, looking at people feeling bad because they on a different part of their journey, or even hating, saying they lucky or whatever the case may be to make yourself feel better, or trolling them because they're in a different part of their journey. You don't know what that person had to go through to get to where they're at. And success ain't no overnight thing, or you don't know if that person fronting or not. What I'm saying is everybody's on a different journey. That person may have put in a level of work that you ain't put in yet. They're on a different part of their journey. You can't compare somebody else to yourself. You're doing yourself a disservice by doing that. Look at that and take it as inspiration, right? If you want to reach out, say, hey, can I, I'm willing to, pay you to be a mentor or whatever the case may be, or provide you value to give me some game or whatever. But don't look at that and, don't look at somebody else's quote unquote success and make yourself feel bad because, again, you don't know what they go through. You don't know what their expenses is. Jay-Z said something that was very, Jay-Z drop a lot of gems. A lot of the young guys don't like Jay-Z. But if you got a boss mind, if you're a player about your shit, Jay-Z dropped, I'm talking about game. It's more game in Jay-Z music than anybody that I know as far as like rappers. Like game as far as like, getting your bread up, getting your mind right, that type of shit. But Jay-Z said, you don't know my expenses. I got to buy bigger plates and more baggies. Why you all aggy? He was talking to the haters. Like, people be hating when you in the streets and you got a little motion. People be hating on you, right? People be hating on you because you're at a certain level, but you don't know the expense that it takes to get there. Like, why you hating on me, right? Why you hating on me? You don't know how much it costs to even keep this going. Like, it costs me to this motion costs. Having motion costs money, right? So, you don't know my expenses. I gotta buy bigger plates, meaning the plates to cut the dope on and more baggies to bag it up. I gotta buy bigger plates and more baggies. You don't know my expenses, bro. Stay in your lane and worry about yourself, But another one is sabotaging your progress or success due to fear of failure. A lot of people sabotage themselves, or they tear down what they've built because they get to a point that there may be obstacles, or it may seem like they're gonna fall or fail, and they'll scrap it or they'll tear it down. They do it with their relationships or with projects or whatever the case may be. That's a sign of low self-worth. Fear of initiating or escalating relationships. When you're scared to close the deal with a woman, when you're scared to escalate the intimacy, the situation to sex or intimacy, that's a sign of low self-worth. Like, you should be looking at that. Like, I look at it like she should thank God that I'm even here, even trying, because I can change her life and she can't really change my life. I already got motion. I'm already who I am. I can come in her life intangibly and change it. That's not to say that she can't provide me value, right? But I'm not scared of her saying no, because I know her no is not personal, number one. And I know if she say no, that's on her. I'm not entitled to that. So I'm going to go for what I want, whether it be escalating to sex or escalating the interaction to a more serious relationship. A real dude, a real player, a real man is not scared to escalate his relationships. And when you're scared to escalate things or initiate things, that's a sign of low self-worth. You're supposed to feel worthy of that. Not entitled. It's a difference. Not entitled to it, but worthy of it, right? Next is ignoring red flags out of fear of being alone. That's a low self-worth thing. When she a bop, she the town bicycle, she got BPD, she a drunk or alcoholic or whatever the case may be, she got bad character, but you ignore that for the sake of a relationship. People who do that and they allow trash into their lives and trash to dirty up their lives, that's a low self-worth thing. You don't think highly of yourself. You don't think yourself in high regard. You don't think yourself You don't think of yourself as you're worth something if you would let something dirty you up and bring your life down or taint your existence. You see what I'm saying? When you allow people to do that and you ignore the red flags, clear red flags, just to have somebody, that's a low self-worth thing. The next one is staying in toxic or one-sided relationships, right? When you are the utility boyfriend and you stay the utility boyfriend, you know she using you as a utility. You know that, she don't really like you like that. She ain't sleeping with you. She disrespecting you. She using you. And you basically get nothing out of this woman but a headache and sex whenever she can staple her stomach together to sleep with you. If you stay in a situation like that, or if you stay in a situation where a woman is disrespecting you, not showing you no love, that's a sign of low self-worth. People who value themselves and people who view themselves as worth something, they don't stay in situations like that. I would never let a woman play with me. I will never let nobody play with me, but I never let a woman mistreat me, cheat on me, disrespect me, be in a situation where I'm giving and I ain't getting nothing out of it and just draining me. I would never, ever do that. So, but that's low self-worth. Let's move on. Now, the next symptom of a shattered ego is avoidance of responsibility. Right? So a lot of y'all brothers that's living with women and driving their cars to work and coming back, smoking weed all day, sitting in the same spot, that type of shit, avoiding responsibility. And that's not just black men, but I'm talking specifically to black men as far as that piece go. But a lot of other guys, this is for everybody, but I just said that to say, because that's something that, a lot of black men do, living with women and, depending on women to live and survive. Avoidance of responsibility, shying away from taking ownership of their actions or decisions, right? It shields the person from feeling like a failure, shame, or exposure, right? But when you avoid responsibility, it prevents your growth and it reinforces that, it reinforces the very insecurities that you're trying to avoid, right? You're in this self-preservation mode, and there's nothing wrong with preserving yourself, but you don't take on life as a man. You avoid responsibility as a man, because you're trying to preserve yourself, but it reinforces the insecurities that you're trying to hide from anyway, right? And that's not just taking responsibility or avoiding responsibility for your life. It's your actions and your words and everything. Always got an excuse or whatever the case may be, right? Taking ownership over your life feels like, a risk. And if you fail, it reinforces the belief that you're inadequate. So that's why a lot of people avoid responsibility, right? Responsibility also feels overwhelming, right? And so the lack of confidence, it makes you believe that, you lack the confidence to believe that you can handle obligations effectively, right? Blame shifting. When people blame shift, or when they take the responsibility off themselves and put it onto others for the things in their life, and remember, everything that happens to you in your life is your fault. You're responsible for as an adult, you're responsible for everything that happens to you in your life. That was beat into me, like as a kid. My mom would always tell me, you get in them cars with them fools, them stolen cars with them fools, that's on you. You want to follow somebody to your grave if you want to, that's on you. But you're responsible for everything that happens. I couldn't go to my mom and be like, oh, it's such and such fault, or I was with such, she'd knock my teeth out of my mouth. If I ever went to her trying to blame somebody else for my actions. But when people blame shift, right, it preserves their image, right? By placing the fault somewhere else, they avoid facing their own perceived shortcomings, right? Another part of avoiding responsibility is procrastination. People procrastinate, and that's I don't have no shattered ego, but I be procrastinating like a motherfucker. So that's what I'm saying. If you listen to this, and maybe there's holes in my game somewhere that I got to plug up, but that's what I'm saying. Listen to this, even if you feel like you're above it or whatever. But procrastination. Delaying tasks or decisions to avoid the risk of failure or accountability. Now, let me stop there. I'm not trying to avoid failure or risk, because I don't see not accomplishing a goal or a task failure. I see it as a learning lesson. But I procrastinate, and I got to get into why. So maybe when I turn this off from recording this, I'm gonna get into why I be procrastinating. I'm gonna try to figure that part out. But I be procrastinating like a motherfucker. I'm not gonna lie. But me, it's not because of that. That's the sidebar. But when you delay tasks or decisions to avoid the risk of failure or accountability, that's you avoiding responsibility, because you don't want to fail. You don't want to feel what it feels like to quote unquote fail. Making excuses, right? When you justify inaction or mistakes instead of addressing the root causes. I hate when people make excuses. I don't let my kids make excuses why this ain't done. The only thing that I want to hear is nothing. I'm sorry, I get it done, or because I didn't want to. I don't want to hear no motherfucking excuses. We ain't doing no excuses. You see what I'm saying? Don't be a man going through life making excuses, because when you become a man, people don't want to hear that shit. But when you justify inaction or make excuses, you don't address the root causes, and that stifles your growth. Quitting when things get hard, giving up on challenges instead of persevering through difficulties, or persevering through difficulties. If you can keep going through the obstacles, it'll make you a beast in life, with his life or whatever the case may be. When things get challenging, it's not because it's a sign to quit. People think the obstacles in life are a sign to shift paths or whatever the case may be. And I don't look at it like that. That's a time to learn and level up. When you playing a video game, especially some of the older, more linear story video games, when you're playing a video game, when it start to get hard, it's time to level up. And you level up your character, or you go to a different level in life. And when you get to this new level, you have better gear, you're faster, you're stronger, whatever the case may be. So when there's obstacles that come, that's the opportunity to get stronger. That's the opportunity to learn. That's the opportunity to grow. But when you quit when things get hard, you'll never amount to anything, really, to be honest, because this shit hard. It's times in my business when I don't make no money for the whole month, despite my efforts, despite whatever the case may be, or things may happen that's just like, God damn, I got to figure this out. Or I may do something or try to take on something and shit get hard. But if you don't persevere through difficulties, you ain't gonna never amount to anything, and you're gonna stay stuck, right? Don't quit when shit get hard. Next, a part of avoiding responsibility is a victim mindset. Believing life is unfair and acting powerless to change the circumstances. I'm gonna keep it 1,000. A lot of this content is victimhood shit. A lot of this content in the manosphere is victimhood shit. Now, I don't want to make you feel powerless. That's why all my shit it has solutions. It's game. It's steps. It's solutions. I break the game down, but there's a solution to all of it. I don't want to make you feel like women are the boogeyman or somebody's out to get you, because ain't nobody out to get you, because don't nobody give a fuck about you, to be honest. Collectively at least. There may be people in your life who's sweating you or whatever, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, most people, the system ain't out to get you. That's another story for another day. But, they do need bodies for their systems. Certain systems need bodies, and, but it's up to you if you let them play you. I was a fool once and I let them play me, and I had to go give my body and my mind to the state of Florida and give them free labor. I let them play me. But at the end of the day, that's my responsibility, and that's on me if I let the system play me, because I don't have to make bad choices. I chose to make bad choices. But what happens is a lot of people, they'll sit and be like, oh, well, it's this and this the reason and this the reason and this the reason. I know shit. It's what you wanted to do, especially nowadays. You don't have to. Nowadays, there's so much information out there, man. There's so much information out there that there's literally no excuse for you not to even try, at least. There's no excuse. You got AI that's basically like a personal assistant. You got all type of AI tools, all type of cheap labor to help you start a business, to teach you how to get women. It's content. People create free content on YouTube, Instagram, whatever you want to do, whatever you're trying to do. There's somebody teaching you how to do it, and there's a tool to help you do it faster. Whatever you got to do today. So that the whole victim thing ain't, that ain't gonna really cut it no more. That's for women. Let women be the victim. You ain't no victim. Yeah, that woman, she cheated on you, and she cheated on you while you was trying to take care of her and her kids, and she gave you an STD, but you're not a victim because you chose her, and more than likely she had red flags that you overlooked. You're not no victim. That's you a willing participant, and you stayed. You didn't leave. You stayed. You're not a victim. Your business ain't doing good, or you broke and poor or fat or whatever. Don't nobody give a fuck about that. Because you don't have to be going through that. That's a choice. So but that victim mentality, if you have a victim mentality, that's just part of a shattered ego. The next one is people pleasing, right? Constantly putting people's needs before your own to gain approval or avoid conflict. Again, putting people's need before your own to gain approval. A lot of people are not people pleasers because they want approval or validation. A lot of people are people pleasers because they're scared of conflict. And if you're a man, that make you a bitch. You feel what I'm saying? Always saying yes, even when it's inconvenient. If somebody could just come to you, and even if it's inconvenient. Now, don't get me wrong. It's a good thing to help people. It's a good thing to be a helpful person that's a giver. I help people and I'm a giver, even when it's inconvenient sometimes. Right? But I give and I help because that makes me feel good to help people. Right? But if I can't do it, I can't do it. Well, if it's too inconvenient for me or whatever the case may be, I ain't doing it. Right? People also are people pleasers to hide in their true feelings, pretending to be okay or pretending to be happy to avoid upsetting other people. Ain't no way, King Dre gonna be faking the phone and not in no relationships. And a lot of women expect men to hide their feelings. I'm not hiding nothing. I'm gonna speak how I feel. And if you don't like it, then that means it ain't no room for me here. And if it ain't no room for me here, then I don't need to be here. But another thing people do to people please, excessive flattery, right? Complimenting people excessively to win their favor or maintain relationships, right? Overgiving, giving more than you have, giving to the point to where it breaks you in hopes of making people happy or to avoid conflict, or whether you're getting extorted or to make somebody happy, right? Avoiding tough conversations. Sometimes you got to have tough conversations. Sometimes a situation calls for you to put your emotions to the side or put your fear to the side, your fear conflict, and you got to have confrontation. Sometimes you got to sit that bitch down and say, hey, look, excuse my language. Sometimes you got to sit her down and say, hey, look, we ain't doing that no more. I don't like the way that make me feel. I don't like how that feel. That ain't what we doing. And we going to have to stop that, or it can't be. Or sitting there down and say, hey, listen, I can't be with you no more because of XYZ. So this is over now. A lot of y'all are scared to do that. A lot of y'all hit me up like, hey, what do I do if my girl is XYZ or my girl is doing this? Like, what do I do about that? Fuck you mean what you do about it? Excuse me. What you mean what you do? You check her. Say something. Fuck is you scared of? The truth be honest, man, a lot of dudes hit me up asking me that. What do I do if, or how do I tell my girl that I'm busy? How do you tell her you busy? Hey, she need to find something to do with her motherfucking life while you busy, or help you. A lot of y'all scared to have them tough conversations, man, and that's a sign of a shattered ego, basically. And tolerating disrespect. You tolerating disrespect, letting your woman disrespect you and call you out your name, letting other dudes disrespect you and call you out your name. That's a part of people pleasing. And if you do that, you're a people pleaser. And if you're a people pleaser, you more than likely have a shattered ego. Now, in order to understand something thoroughly, you got to know where it come from. And I want you to sit back and analyze your situation, analyze your life, and look back on your life. Fix my hat kind of crooked. Look back on your life and see what kind of caused it so you can address it and rectify it. But the first, root cause is trauma or emotional wounds. Deep emotional pain from experiences like rejection or abuse, right? Or, neglect that damages a man's sense of self-worth, right? Childhood, a lot of it comes from childhood. A lot of the emotional traumas and wounds, a lot of it comes from childhood. Childhood neglect or abuse, growing up in a household where, your emotional needs weren't met, whether your mother was being too overbearing or abusive or verbally abusive or physically abusive or whatever the case may be. A lot of the times that shatters your ego as a child. You need a loving environment. You need a mother's love and touch to pour into you, or whatever the case may be. As a child, it's the adults around you responsibility to see to it that you develop a healthy sense of self. And when you don't have that, or you abuse, or you're neglected or whatever, a lot of the times that causes a shattered ego. Neglect, you didn't have a mother or you didn't have a father, or whatever the case may be, and you didn't get the things that you needed as a child to grow into an adult who has a healthy sense of self-worth. That causes a shattered ego. Bullying, right? Being bullied, right? Repeated humiliation or rejection during adolescence, right? One thing about the black community, I ain't even say the black community, I'm gonna say the hood, because a lot of black people who was more like suburb or square or whatever, they couldn't take, for some reason, like they couldn't take getting roasted, or a lot of the Haitians or the Africans, like children are cruel, right? Children are very cruel, and we get on each other as children. It is what it is. I'm not saying that it's the right thing, and I don't believe in, a lot of they say now, I see a lot of people say bring back bullying, and I don't believe that you should. I believe in spreading game, not negativity. I don't believe in spreading negativity, and I don't believe in making people feel bad about themselves, because if you have to make somebody feel bad about themselves, if you got to do that to feel good about yourself, you have a shattered ego. You have an ego problem. You feel that goes to show how you feel about yourself, right? So I believe in spreading game and not negativity. But anyway, I said all that to say, in the black community, at least, in the hood, at least, we are good at handling bullies and good at like not letting that type of stuff affect us, because it is what it is. You crack a motherfucker, crack on you, you crack back on them. If you got to fight it out, you got to fight it out. But a lot of the African kids, or a lot of the Haitians or whatever, they took that personally. They took that personal, and they let it fuck with them. And even kids from the suburbs or whatever. You go to school with kids from the hood or whatever, or you go to school with different types of people. Even the white people that bully the kids from the suburbs, the black kids from the suburbs, for some reason, black kids from the suburbs, like it fucks with them. They get so far away from themselves because of it. Especially when the white kids bully them and shit like that. But I said all that to say bullying is, bullying causes a shattered sense of self, right? Humiliation, or rejection, or whatever the case may be. That's one of the root causes of a shattered ego. Next is repeated failures or perceived inadequacies, right? When you fail consistently or you fall short of expectations, it causes one to question their abilities or worth, especially when you don't have the support as a child. Like, we're going to fail, we're going to fall. But if you don't have the support system from your mother, your father, or your guardians, or your family, or the community, or whatever, when you fail, you internalize it as that you're inadequate. Instead of having somebody teach you, hey, like this is not to mean you're failing. You learn from this. If you don't make the shot, it's not because you suck. It's because you haven't shot enough, or you need to learn something, or you ain't there yet. And use it as a learning experience. When you don't have that type of support and you fail, or you don't meet the expectations of society, or whatever the case may be, you internalize that, as you're a failure or you feel inadequate, and that shatters your sense of self-worth. That shatters your ego. Men tie their identity to success, whether it be money, women, career, whatever, video games, sports. We tend to tie our identity to success or a lack thereof, a lack of success. So if we feel better about ourselves if we're successful, and we don't feel good if we're not successful, right? And setbacks, when you have a shattered ego, it feels like flaws. When you don't live up to the expectations, or when you fail, or when you lose, or when you, whatever the case may be, it feels like a flaw or inadequacy within yourself, instead of using it as an opportunity to learn game or learning, right? But when you have the support system, like I said before, when you have a support system, you don't think of it that way, because your support system or your guides or your mentors teach you, hey, you're not a flawed person because you are not successful yet, or you haven't reached that level to where you believe in your head is successful. That don't make you a failure. You're just not there yet. You just ain't learned enough yet. You ain't paid enough dues. You understand what I'm saying? Another one of the root causes of a shattered, shattered identity, shattered ego, is external dependency, right? External dependency for self-worth. Basing self-esteem on external factors like validation from others, material possessions, or status, making a man vulnerable, right? This makes a man vulnerable when those things are lost, right? When you depend on external shit like validation, material possessions, status, women, whatever, those things, you can lose those things. And when you don't achieve those, or when something happens with something, right, it makes you more vulnerable, and it makes you feel bad when things are lost. When men don't develop internal confidence, when they don't develop, the intrinsic qualities that make them valuable, right? They rely on external achievements or relationships, because a lot of guys don't achieve a lot physically, meaning like a lot of guys just go to work and come home. And so they depend on external shit like relationships for their validation, instead of self-validation based on, what they pour into themselves. A lot of guys define their self-worth again based on being loved by a woman or accepted by a woman. That's why when a woman leave y'all don't know what to do with yourself, because your worth was tied to that. You depended on a woman to feel worthy or feel validated or feel like a man. That's, again, remember I talked about the provider scam? A lot of guys feel like if they ain't providing for a woman, they ain't no real man. That's crazy. Right, but that's one of the root causes of a shattered ego. Another one is when you tie your self-esteem to wealth, possessions, or social status. That causes, when you believe that relationships or material success or wealth or possessions, when you believe that this makes you worthy, that causes a shattered ego, because when you haven't achieved them, you don't have a positive view of yourself when you don't achieve this type of shit. And all of this stuff that I'm mentioning can be taken away from you at the drop of a hat. All this external shit, a bitch can suck another dick today. A woman can put a meat in her mouth. I'm trying. Could put meat in her mouth today. You could lose that job. You can get sick, just like that. And then who are you? So that's the root causes. Those are the root causes of a deflated or shattered ego. We're gonna do quick because I want to get to the I want to hurry up and get to the solutions. That was the root causes. We're gonna talk about the negative impacts now. The negative impacts of how it manifests in your life, right? When you have a shattered ego and how it affects your life negatively. That's important to understand that. You get used and abused a lot, exploited, right? Everybody don't have good intentions for you, right? So when you don't believe you worthy of something, or you don't believe you're not even worthy of something, but when you have a low sense of self-worth you don't see your value, other people see the value in you. And most people ain't going to tell you what your value is. What they're going to do is they're going to use your value and use your sweat and your hands for their benefit and their gain. Women do it and your job do it, right? You on that pallet jack as an order selector at a warehouse, making them people thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a day, and they paid you $75 for the day for 12 hours, damn near, or $150 or whatever the case may be. And you don't help them people make thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. You don't know your worth. Right? And when you don't understand your worth, somebody's going to see, okay, he's strong, he's in shape, he's a workaholic, he has work ethic, right? He has speed, he's efficient. So I'm going to come to him and I'm going to get him a job, and he going to help set these orders up all day. Right? And he's going to do it for 12 hours, and I'm going to give him enough to keep him satisfied. And that's just going to be that. Women do the same. Why you think? I want y'all to think about something. Why do you think women who don't respect you, ain't trying to whatever, they disrespectful, they don't respect you, they cheat, whatever, they want to, why do you think that they want to use you? Why do you think that there's a thing of women using men as utilities? Why do you think that that's a thing? Because they see the value you have. You just don't see it, and so they ain't going to give you nothing for that value. They're going to give you a little bullshit to keep you going, but women see the value in you. Now, women who don't, even if a woman don't, there's women like I talked about, I think the last episode or one of the episodes. There's a lot of women who don't like men, who don't respect them, but they see the value. The women who don't see the value in men are G-H-E-Y or G-A-Y. They're gay. Women see the value in you. They know it. But you let them run all over you. Even a woman taking advantage of you, she taking advantage of you because she see the value. She's with you and she got married to you even though she ain't giving you sex, even though she's mistreating you. She see your value and she's exploiting you. If you don't understand your value and you don't have a sense of self-worth, other people are gonna see that, and they're gonna see that you don't have a sense of self-worth. They don't see that they're gonna see that you don't have respect for yourself. They're gonna see that you don't value yourself and you don't know your value, and they're gonna see that, okay, he don't know it, but I see it, and they're gonna exploit you. Most people are gonna do you like that. You see what I'm saying? You're just gonna end up being used and abused. Now, another negative impact is stunted personal and professional growth. When you have an ego that's shattered and you have a low view of self, again, like I said earlier, you don't try things, you don't grow, you don't look at yourself in the mirror, you don't take on hardships, you don't overcome obstacles, you quit when things get hard. You know, you just live in this bubble and you just stay the same. You stay the same child. You just have a man's body. You stay the same child that you was at 10. You just grown now, arrested development, you know. In order to grow, you have to be moving. You got to have motion. You got to overcome. You got to be uncomfortable. In order to keep growing. You know, you stay stagnant in your personal life and you stay stagnant in your professional life. If you don't know your value and you stuck at a warehouse, you're not going to grow professionally. If you don't realize the value you bring in this company and you're scared to ask for a raise, or you're scared to show up, to move up and, you know, take on things, and, you know, you're scared to take initiative in the company, or, you know, provide the company more value because you don't believe you have that, you're not going to grow professionally. Your business ain't going to grow if you're scared to take risks. You're not going to grow. You're going to stay stuck forever. The next one is emotional and mental health issues. Negative view of self, fear of rejection, low confidence, all of this stuff that I talked about before. It causes emotional and mental health issues. It causes depression. It causes anxiety. It causes all type of shit. You know, and then you start to get into coping with unhealthy coping mechanisms, smoking, drinking, prostitutes, porn, gambling, whatever the case may be. Another way that this shows up negatively in your life is financial instability. People who typically have shattered egos don't make a lot of money because they're scared. Again, they're scared to take risks. They're scared to initiate. They don't believe they're worthy of money. And so when you don't believe you're worthy of money, you don't try. When you on the money train and you get in a little motion, when things get hard, you quit. You don't persevere. When the business gets stuck, get too hard, or your videos ain't doing the numbers that you think that they should to get, and it's only one person watching your video, and you think that it should be 1,000 people watching the video, 100,000 people watching the video, you don't persevere through that, right? And to get money, you got to persevere through bullshit in this society. To get money, to be financially free, you have to persevere through hardships, because there's hardships in the money game in this society for sure. And a lot of people is gonna stay broke, but that's your shattered ego is keeping you stuck, right? You stay in toxic relationships. Moving on, you stay in toxic relationships like I talked about before, when and that affects you negatively emotionally. It affects you mentally. You can't grow. You feel disrespected. You're not flourishing in life. You're getting drained in a relationship. You gotta watch porn while your woman, gotta, meat down her throat while you taking care of her and her kids, feeling disrespected, feeling unappreciated. All of this is because of a low sense of self-worth, a shattered ego. But now I'm gonna give you some game on how to heal, and I'm gonna give you some game and some solutions on what to do so you can get back to a better place. I want you to pay attention. Now, how do we heal? How do we build ourselves up to, get to where we can be more like them dudes you see on Instagram, or I have had dudes say, "Man, I want to be like you. You don't want to be like me, bro. How do I be more like you? You don't want to walk in my shoes, bro. You stay in your own lane." But how do you get to the point of being that God, that version of you that you see in your head, that strong version, just standing upright, and all the bitches love him and all his peers respect him? How do you get to that version? You got to heal yourself. And first, what I want you to realize, I want you to realize something. You have to treat yourself good first, or other people won't. If people see you treat yourself bad, other people gonna treat you bad. You got to treat yourself with respect if you want people to respect you. That's just the way it is. You have to act like a king to be treated like one. You got to treat yourself like that, and you have to carry yourself like that if you want to be treated like that. So I'm saying that so you can understand that, again, it's your responsibility. Nobody's going to treat you better than you treat yourself. Most people are not going to treat you better than you treat yourself. Remember that. But the first step to healing that broken ego that you have is it starts with understanding that you have a broken ego in the first place. And you have to understand all of the stuff that I said, or whatever's going through your life. You have to understand and identify that I'm like this because my ego is broken. And basically, I forgot to even define what an ego is, but you can Google it. The ego is your sense of self. People who have enormous senses of self, and there's people who have gigantic, enormous, and they feel like they're the only people in the world. They're solipsistic or narcissistic or whatever the case may be. And then you have people with shattered egos. Then you have people who are balanced, who have healthy egos, who have a healthy sense of self. But today we're talking about shattered ego. But you have to understand that you have this problem. And you also have to understand what broke your ego in the first place. Self-awareness. You got to develop a very hard sense of self-awareness. It helps identify the triggers. It helps identify the patterns and beliefs that hold you back, right? You can't get over this issue that you have without clarity. And you get that clarity by being self-aware. Self-awareness at first is painful. But after the pain, it's a superpower. Being self-aware is a superpower. Because when you know yourself, people can't play you. When you don't know yourself and you're not self-aware, people can play you. You leave yourself vulnerable to getting scammed, people playing with you, and people gonna play with you. People gonna misuse you. People gonna exploit you. But when you are aware of what's going on, you are aware of your flaws, you are aware of how you kick your game, and you know yourself, can't nobody play with you. Not no woman or nobody else. Right? Reflect on your past, fellas. Identify the major events in your life, whether it's childhood, whatever the case. Don't stop smoking it away. Stop drinking it. Stop gambling it away. Stop buying pussy to make it go away. Identify it, whether it's things in your childhood, whatever the case may be, and make peace with whatever happened. The bully that picked on you for your shoes, or the black kid that called you an African booty scratcher, for my Africans that feel ways about that. Like, we wasn't roasting each other, we roast each other. Like, you got to make peace with that. The Haitians, we got a lot of Haitians down here. We got a lot of Haitians in Florida, and it was, it wasn't, Haitians felt like niggas was just picking on them. No, we picked on everybody get it, so it is what it is. But make peace with that is what I'm saying. Make peace with your childhood. Make peace with the things that happened to you. Make peace with and I'm not saying go talk to the person and shake their hand and whatever the case may be, but you have to make peace with that, and you have to understand as a child, you don't have no control over that as a child. And people are the person that bullies you, they did it to make themselves feel better because they felt bad about themselves because they was poor or they didn't have their dad or whatever the case may be. That's why people bully, and that's why it go on in the hood a lot, because it's a lot of deficiency in the hood. A lot of broken homes, there's a lot of bullshit, a lot of poverty. And so our way of feeling better about ourselves is to pick on other people. And we picked on each other. It is what it is. That's where roasting come from and all that shit. Well, roasting come from, back in the back in the days, but that's why, snapping on each other, that's just to lift the spirits, right? But make peace with what went on in your childhood. Your parents, let me say something about your parents. A lot of y'all carry a lot of bullshit that you feel like your parents didn't do, or you feel like your parents did to you, and I'm not talking about people who abused you, but you make peace with that too, and I'll talk about that in a second. But a lot of y'all carrying weight around from something your parents said to you. I was dealing with this guy in one of the coaching calls in the Players Club. Go to the Players Club at playersclub.vip. Join the Players Club. That's my private men's community. But dude was 22 years old, and I was talking to him, and he was not as assertive, just not as articulate. Just, you could tell something was wrong with him. And so I talked to him, in the group setting. We was talking, and I started asking about his dad and stuff like that. He started opening up about how he had this animosity towards his dad. He had this animosity towards his dad ever since he was like 10 years old, and he'd been carrying that shit around. What happened was he was like 10 years old or something, and his dad was trying to hurry up and take something upstairs. And so he was trying to take the thing upstairs with his dad, right? And he dropped it or something, or he was going too slow. And the dad was like, man, get your skinny ass, go get your sister. Like, you whatever. And so that made him feel bad. He been carrying that around. Like, he's scared to even try to do shit now because of that. And I told him, like, bro, how old were you? He was like 10. I was like, nigga, you was skinny. Like, although maybe he could have handled that differently. I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that was the right way to, but sometimes I'd be like that with my kid, like, man, get your weak ass out of here, man. Go do some push-ups. I'm not abusive to them, but I tell them, you need to do push, you weak, bro. But I also pour into them too, positively. Like, I always, I pour into them as well, but I tell them good things too. But he carrying this shit around. I'm like, bro, you was skinny. Like, he was trying to, maybe he got to hurry up because he got to go to work, and you dropping and fumbling and shit. He's like, just go get your sister. And so he was been jealous of his sister all his life, and he got animosity towards the dad all his life. And I'm like, bro, you can't carry that around. Like, you actually wrong for that. Number one, your sister ain't got nothing to do with that. And your whole life, you've been treating her differently or treating her with animosity because of something your dad said. Number one, that's not fair to your sister, and that's wrong of you to do that. You understand? That's wrong of you to do that. And it does you a disservice to carry that from your dad. Maybe your dad was frustrated or whatever the case may be, and he was just trying to hurry up. You were skinny at 10 years old. It is what it is. The fuck, you was skinny and you made the shit fall. Go get your sister. What's wrong with that? After a while, he started to see that he was tripping. And he's in a much better space now. But that incident been carrying that shit his whole fucking life. It's probably with some other stuff, but, you got to make peace with the bullshit that happened when you was a kid. A lot of the times it don't have nothing to do with you. Right? Another thing too, man, you have to forgive your parents. I see a lot, and it makes me sick to my stomach to see that, especially the generation under us calling their parents out for not being as emotionally available or whatever the case may be, or being too hard on them or not giving them what they think that they should have deserved, and they exposing them on TikTok or whatever the case may be. That shit bullshit, bro. And people you'll never be, when you treat your parents like that, you'll never prosper. You'll never be prosperous. And if you are, it ain't gonna be the right type of prosperous. It's a lot gonna come with that quote unquote success. You don't have to do a lot for that. It's gonna come at a price. But you gotta listen. Your parents, and this is coming from a father. My oldest son is 15. My oldest son will be 16 this year. It's coming from a father. Ain't no manual that come with this shit. There's a silver lining in everything, Like I could say, well, my mom wasn't as nurturing and so blah, 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 blah. But I also thank God that my mother was the way that she was, because that made me who I am today. Yeah, my mother may not have been as nurturing or as my friend mama or whatever the case may be, but my friend a bitch ass nigga. Because his mama, did everything for him and whatever, and that nigga a bum now, So my mom was a certain type of way with me. I appreciate that. That's not to say that there can't be balance. I'm just saying I see the silver lining in it. I'm not finna be complaining about what my mama didn't give me. I didn't grow up. My mother spoke life into me, son. You could do anything. You ain't no dumbass nigga. You don't have to be a follower. You're a leader. But I didn't get like, oh baby, I love you so much. I didn't get that as a kid. I didn't get, oh, come give me a hug. And I didn't get all of that. And that's cool. I ain't tripping. Right? But there's people who mad because they didn't get that. And I said all that to say, there's no manual that come with this shit. And your parents can't give you what they don't know how to give you. Maybe they don't know how to tell you that they love you because then nobody never told them that. You ever thought about that? Give your parents grace. Because they didn't give you something, or your dad didn't push you hard enough, or your dad was always working. Maybe he had to fucking work because he was $100,000 in debt, or your mom was in his ear bitching at him about how she gonna leave him if he fall off, or whatever the case may be. Maybe he had to work all day to feed you. Instead of looking at that like what your dad didn't do for you and he could have been there more, thank God you ain't grew up in the projects like some of these other niggas. Like a lot of niggas grew up in the projects without their daddy or poor. You see what I'm saying? But when you got this type of mentality, that shit keep you stuck. Make peace with that and forgive your parents, because your parents, it ain't when you have a child, and it only the parents can understand this. A lot of y'all don't have kids, so you don't know, and you still holding on to shit for what your parents didn't do for you, or because your parents spank you too hard. I'm not talking about you being you being abused, or I ain't talking about that. And even in that instance, I'm not excusing it. But a person can only give you what they have. Maybe nobody never poured love into your dad. And so the only way he know how to love you is discipline. Right? Maybe nobody never told your mom, she's beautiful, or whatever the case may be. And so you expect somebody to give you something that they don't fucking have. You expect somebody to teach you something that they don't fucking know. When you have a kid, it don't all of a sudden like, oh, you become a perfect person to handle a baby. It don't work like that. The same anxieties and depression and problems that you had before your ass came out the womb was there before you, and it's going to be there after. If you have a kid right now, the same fear of rejection you have, the same fucking gambling problem you have, that same debt that you got, that same the way that bitches treat you, when your baby comes out, it changes none of that. Now you got all of these problems, you got all of these deficiencies, you got all these things going on, and as a kid. And you only gonna be able to get that kid what the fuck you have, period. Right? So make peace with your childhood. Forgive your parents. You don't have to be kumbaya with them, but even if they mistreated you, whatever the case may be, a person can only give you what they have. Maybe think and try to go get into their background. Maybe they got abused growing up or whatever the case may be. That's not excusing it. And I'm not saying that you're supposed to be kumbaya, especially in that case. But for you motherfuckers, because your daddy said you was weak and you need to do push-ups, or your mama said this, to, stop singing that song. Or one dude was saying his mom told him to stop singing a song he didn't learn at school because he dumb or whatever the case may be. That's bullshit, bro. Can't nobody give you what they don't have or what they don't know how to give you. There's no manual that comes with this. And this is coming as a father. When I had my first son, I had my first kid at 23, 24, nothing had changed. I was still fresh out of prison, still broke, still dealing with drama from my baby mama, still trying to survive in the streets. That my plug wasn't getting no work in, my phone was slow. And the problems that I had was still there. And so I had to raise my kid. Now I've grown and I've matured, and as I grow and I mature, I instill things into my kids. But I was 23 when I first had my first kid. A 23-year-old that was broke, fresh out of prison, still in the streets. And it is what it is. So, like, I'm not as like, I speak life into my kids, but I'm not as nurturing with my kids. But I don't know how, ain't nobody was nurturing to me. So they could be mad at me all they want to, like, oh, you wasn't, whatever the case may be, or you work a lot or whatever, but they grow up to feel like that, but I teach my kids this. What I'm telling y'all, I teach them this. So, but I'm going on this part longer than I should be, but you gotta make peace with your childhood. You gotta forgive your parents. And I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna be done with that part. But say it one more time. Your parents can only give you what they know how to give you, or they can only give you what they have. Maybe they didn't do that for you because they didn't know how to do it. Maybe they didn't say this to you because they didn't know how to say it, or saying that wasn't in them because nobody taught them to be that way. And as an adult, now it's your responsibility to pour into yourself. You can't be carrying shit from your childhood, But this is all part of self-awareness. I went on a long rant. This is all part of self-awareness. So forgive your parents. Right? Identify triggers, recognize situations where you feel insecure, defensive, or unworthy. And recognize them and be honest with yourself. Oh, this made me feel insecure. I got defensive because of this. Have this dialogue with yourself. Don't run from it. When you understand what's going on, it's okay, I feel insecure right here. This is me feeling insecure. Then you can sit down and, when you go to bed at night, you can say, well, why do I feel insecure? And you can be honest with yourself. Well, because my dad said this. And you make peace with that. You'll be a lot better off. It'll make you a better person, right? Why do I feel this way? Why do I believe this? Why do I believe all women ain't shit? Why do I believe that? I question myself with stuff like that. I don't have low self-esteem or nothing like that. But I've been in a space to where I had to question my beliefs. There was a time where I believe bitches wasn't shit, period. Why do I believe that? I had to figure that out. And I realized that the answer was me. And I had to fix it. Why am I having all these negative experiences? Why I believe hoes ain't shit and bitches cheat? Why? It's me. So self-awareness, guys. Self-awareness is the key. And that's the first step to healing yourself. Let's move on. Now, the next step to healing your shattered ego is challenge the negative self-talk. Negative self-talk, fellas, is the main driver of a shattered ego. So replacing it with constructive and positive inner voice, replacing it with a constructive and a positive inner voice, it'll rewire your brain for confidence and growth. You can actually rewire your brain. I learned this in therapy. You can actually rewire your brain. I've seen they take images of a brain when the person believes this or they're this way, and then they go through affirmations, and you can literally see the patterns in their brain change. You can rewire your brain, right? So when you challenge that negative self-talk and you replace that inner negative narrative with a positive and a constructive one, you'll rewire your brain for confidence, growth, and success, right? Catch your negative thoughts and then reframe it with a different narrative, with a positive narrative. A positive narrative, excuse me. I'm always fucking shit up. I'm always messing stuff up. Change that. When you hear yourself saying that, change that to I'm learning and I'm growing through my mistakes. Because when something don't go your way or something don't go right, two things should happen. You can wallow in it or you can learn and come back stronger. So change it. I ain't messing stuff up. I ain't messing nothing up. It didn't go my way and I'm learning and I'm growing through it. And it's making me a better person. I'm a failure. I've been in countless coaching sessions and have heard I'm a failure. Change that. I ain't know you're not a failure. You him. Right? Failure is an opportunity to learn and improve. I didn't fail. I learned and I'm improving. I'm not good enough. That's another one I've heard from a lot of guys. I am. I can do anything through Christ who strengthens me, or whatever you believe in. Or I can do anything. Perfection isn't required for me to be valuable. Say that to yourself. Write it down. Perfection is not required for me to be valuable. Fellas, you don't have to be perfect to be valuable. I'm not perfect, but I provide tons of value. I'm the most imperfect, perfect person on the planet. You know? Or I'm more than enough. I'm just not, instead of saying I'm not enough, I'm just not right for everyone. I ain't the fit for every woman, and that's okay because every woman ain't right for me. You got to talk to yourself positively. Write positive stuff about yourself on your wall. It teach you to do this in the Think and Grow Rich book. That's one of my favorite books. It's one of my favorite books. I've read it 100 times. Think and Grow Rich. Talks about affirmations and programming your brain. If you tell yourself something over and over and over and over again, you'll believe it. Start talking positively to yourself. I'd be like, I'm too cold for these HO. I used to say that when y'all get ready to go to the club, I'd put my shit on, get fly. I'd be like, I'm too cold for these hoes. I'm too much for these hoes, for sure. And I talk to myself like that. You gotta, your inner voice is your responsibility. And see, when you have a negative narrative, it's easy for people to instill their negativity on you and plant negative seeds. So you got to challenge that, and it's your responsibility to challenge it. And I want you to challenge it. Start challenging it now. Now, the next step after you develop self-awareness and you challenge the negative self-talk is set and achieve attainable, meaningful goals. Success, no matter how small, success, no matter how small, rebuilds your confidence and help you trust in your abilities. Consistent wins reinforce the belief that you're capable and you're worthy. When you win consistently, start small. I'm going to wake up every day at 8 and do 2 push-ups. Do that every day. I feel good when I do stuff. Especially like I don't smoke and I don't drink no more. I haven't smoked cigarettes. I ain't never smoked weed. I used to smoke cigarettes. Like I can feel the positive feelings of, ever since I quit smoking, I can feel the positive feelings that I feel when I complete something. Every time I do a podcast, some days I don't feel like I'm not feeling the best, right? Right now. I'm not, a little under the weather. When I finish this, I'm going to be proud that I pushed through this. It's going to feel good. I feel good every time I do an episode. I accomplished something. I got to sit here and stare in a room I'm by myself and talk for an hour and a half, 2 hours straight. And a lot of times I don't be feeling like doing it. I'm going to play the game and all type of other shit. But when I know I do something and I accomplish something that I need to accomplish, it feels good. So set those goals. Right. And when you achieve those goals and you hit those wins, even if they small ones, it rewires your brain. And it reinforces that you are good enough. You are capable. You are worthy. You are competent. Right. Focus on progress. When you're talking about goals, you focus on progress and not perfection. Ain't nothing going to be perfect. Ain't nothing going to ever be perfect. So don't even get perfection out of your mind. Ain't nothing perfect. Ain't nothing going to be all 100% right. That don't exist. Celebrate yourself. Whether it's, what I do? When I reward myself, whether it's reward myself by being lazy and laying in the bed all day or playing the game for a whole weekend straight or buying some bullshit, I reward myself and I'm going to reward myself for sure. Celebrate yourself. When you do a small goal, you hit a small goal, you hit a big goal, celebrate that shit. And then when people see you celebrating yourself, I ain't telling you to be lazy and play the game all day, every day. I ain't telling you to be lazy now, but celebrate yourself. I'm turning my phone off for the weekend and I'm going to play whatever video game, and I'm going to play it for the whole weekend. And I'm going to just eat ice cream because I work hard. I made a lot of money this week, and that's what I'm going to do. That's not saying what I'm going to do, but that's what I'm saying, even if it's something like that. Now, you make sure Sunday you wind down and, you get your ass back up and handle your business for the week again. But celebrate yourself. Go buy that fucking pair of shoes or buy that video game or go buy if you can afford it, you made the money, go celebrate it. That make you feel better about your wins. And people will celebrate you when you celebrate yourself. Remember, failure is only failure. Failure is only failure if you want it to be. Excuse me. Failure is only failure if you want it to be. To me, it's not failure. I don't see it as failure. I see it as education and experience, baby. I could be like a lot of other guys. I had a lot of negative experiences with women throughout my life. And I've had positive experiences too, but I've had a lot of negative. Why do you think I can do this? Why do you think I could make a show called Savor Bro and create courses and you're just like, damn, how you know all that? Because I've been through it. I could look at that and I could say, damn, and just, bitches ain't shit, and I'm not never dating again, and whoop, 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 or, just I'm tired of it at the game ain't shit. You know what I did with it? I don't look at it like I failed or relationships, or I don't look at it like that. I dealt with a lot of women and I have experiences, and so I'm gonna use the experience to teach people. So I don't look at it as failure. Failure it's only failure if you want it to be. Right? It's education and it's experience. Now I ain't been done like some of y'all been done, but shit, I ain't. Every woman that I've been with, it clearly didn't work out, right? Before now. So what does that mean? It didn't go right. So whether it was just a casual thing, a one night stand, or it was a situationship or a relationship, it clearly didn't work because I ain't with none of them. So I don't look at that as failing. That's education. And I use that to better my life. So now the next step The next step in healing your ego is embracing vulnerability and take responsibility for your emotions, right? This is key. Owning your emotions and actions empowers you to take control of your healing, right? Let's talk about vulnerability. Vulnerability breeds authenticity, and it also deepens connections with other people. This helps you feel less isolated. When you are vulnerable, and I don't mean weak or, whatever the case may be, but when you are your true authentic self, when you put it all on the line, right? People connect more with what's genuine. When you walking around with a mask on because you're insecure, or you trying to cover up your shattered ego, or you trying to, compensate for your overinflated ego due to insecurities or whatever, or your entitlement or whatever, people don't get the real you, and it's hard to connect. And although you may have a lot of associates, and although people may be around you using you, you still feel alone and you still feel isolated. The reason you feel that is because you're not connecting with nobody, because you're not being your authentic self. And authenticity is vulnerability. Well, vulnerability, breeds authenticity. And when you can connect with other people, you feel less isolated. You feel less alone. So for all my guys who are like, they feel lonely all the time, even though they got a bunch of people around them at work, they got a bunch of family, whatever the case may be, they still feel lonely. This is why. Because you're not being real and true to yourself. So people can't connect to you. They can be around you. They could use you. They could talk to you, but you don't feel the connection. And you blame that on other people. You think everybody else on some bullshit. You on the bullshit. Take responsibility for your choices. Right? Reflect on where you are, reflect on where you've avoided accountability and make amends, right? Think back and reflect on where you dodged taking accountability, or having a victim mindset, or whatever the case may be, or putting the blame elsewhere on another person or another situation, or making everybody else the fault. Reflect on that and make amends, even if it's, you have to, hey, if you got into it with somebody and, you blame them for it, holler at them and be like, hey, look, let me clean that up. Or if it don't involve nobody, make amends with yourself and realize, hey, this is what I did. I'm not going to do this no more. This is what that is, right? Express your feelings. Stop bottling your feelings. Don't smoke them away. Don't drink them away. We're not going to talk about the stoicism shit. I'm not going to, because I'm going to go on a whole rant. Say that for another day. But express your feelings. Open up to people who you trust, your friends, your family. I ain't say open up to your girl or whatever. If you have a woman that you can't open up to, do that. But, open up to talk to your trusted friends or your family, or talk to a therapist about your insecurities and your fears. I'm a big proponent of therapy. I go to therapy. I don't even play, So express your feelings. Don't bottle them up. Now, don't dump your feelings on the other people and be, try to make people responsible for your feelings, but you have to express yourself. You have to find a positive way, a healthy way to get the stuff out of you. Otherwise it's just, it's just going to tear you up and it's going to eat you up from the inside. Now, what vulnerability is not? Vulnerability is not oversharing or dumping all of your feelings onto somebody else without boundaries. Vulnerability is not weakness, right? It's not weakness. It's a deliberate act of self-honesty and courage. It's not weakness. I didn't say be weak. And it's not giving up control. It's about accepting yourself as you are while striving for growth. Now, the next step, right, or the last step, is build a strong foundation of internal validation. This is huge. This is important. When your self-worth is rooted in internal beliefs rather than external validation, it becomes resilient to criticism, failure, or rejection. Why do you think I'm able to do this, or any other content creator is able to do this and get the criticism, the backlash, the negative? Why do you think we're able to do that? I have a strong foundation of internal validation. I'm resilient to criticism or failure or rejection. Everybody ain't gonna buy my course. Everybody ain't gonna buy my programs. Everybody ain't gonna buy coaching. Everybody ain't gonna join the Players Club. If 1,000 people see one of my landing pages, a very small percentage of people gonna buy. That's called rejection. Sometimes I have to get on the phone if I'm selling a high ticket coaching and whatever that's thousands of dollars. I have to get on the phone, and everybody, I get turned down. Or the salesperson that I may be working with, they get turned down. I get rejected. But that don't bother me because I validate myself. If my validation don't come from whether you buy something from me or not, right? People say negative stuff about me all the time. People leave negative comments all the time. Now, I do block negative comments, and the reason that I block negative comments and I block trolls is because I don't want people to think that it's okay to troll. So if somebody come and they read the comments and they see a bunch of trolls, it emboldens people to troll. And before you know it, that's all my comment section is going to be about. And it's not going to be about people sharing their experiences or being constructive and having constructive dialogue, which is my goal. When I post something, I want people to learn. I want people to dialogue about it. If I allow people to be negative, or if I allow people to, you can disagree and you can criticize and you can make suggest whatever. I don't care about that, but I don't allow negativity and trolling because people see that and trolls see that and they get emboldened. And then before you know it, your comment section is overflowed with people trolling for attention. You see what I'm saying? But my self-worth is rooted in my internal beliefs, and it's not external validation, right? So that's why I'm resilient to criticism or failure or rejection. You got to recognize your inherent worth, right? Practice viewing yourself as valuable. I got to exercise that I want everybody to do. This is in one of my courses. I want you to take a list, get 2 sheets of paper, and I want you to make a list. It's going to 2 lists on each piece of paper. The first sheet of paper, you draw a column. This list is, scratch that. You don't have to do 2 pieces of paper. If you can, if you want to. But the first list, you're going to make 2 lists, whether it's on 2 pieces of paper or whatever. The first list, I want you to write every quality about yourself. Be real with yourself, right? Every quality about yourself. Every quality, every skill, every talent that you have that can make the world a better place. Even if it's being charming or even if it's writing or whatever the case may be, that can make the world a better place or make somebody's life better. Some people can rap, and that rap can entertain people, and that entertainment can make people feel better about their situation. You know, so even if it's something like that, if you are a doctor or if you are a lawyer or you can program or whatever, if you can make this world a better place through your qualities, your talents, whatever, I want you to make a list. I don't care how many things on it, whether it's 1 thing or 1,000 things. Write all of that shit down on a piece of paper and write it down and read it every day. And every day you strive to make this list longer and longer. You work on yourself. So now, let's say confidence is not on that list, but you watch this, you implement the steps, and you gain confidence. You could put confidence on that list because your confidence can inspire other people. Your confidence can lead other people. You see what I'm saying? So I want you to make a list of all your qualities, your talents, your traits, your personality traits, and your skills that can make this world or make somebody's life better. That's on 1 piece of paper. The next piece of paper, I want you to make a list, that same list, your talents, your qualities, your skills, your personality traits, all of these things. Make a list of the things that can make a woman's life better. And you look at these lists, you look at them every day. You got to recognize your worth. You see what I'm saying? Recognize your worth. Now, focus on alignment with your values, right? This is all building a strong foundation of internal validation. Focus on aligning, right? Aligning yourself with your values. What do you value? Ask yourself, am I proud of how I'm living based on my values? Not whether I make $1 million this year. But am I living by my values? Am I living by what's congruent? Am I being congruent to what's in my heart? Am I treating people right? Am I being morally, do I have integrity? Whatever the case may be. Am I proud of how I'm living based on my values? Ask yourself that. Instead of thinking, what are other people going to think? Fuck what other people think. Am I happy with the way that I'm living based on my values? Practice self-compassion. Treat yourself with kindness. Be kind to yourself. When you stumble, right? When you stumble, be kind to yourself. Remind yourself that growth take time and ain't nobody perfect. Everybody fall. Don't let social media fool you. Everybody fall. Everybody have a bad day or two. But if you woke up, it's a good day, brother, because a lot of people ain't wake up. So remember that. Detach from external validation. Limit how much you rely on workplace recognition, financial milestones, or other people's approval to feel good about yourself. Focus on internal growth and personal fulfillment instead. Focus on that instead of all that external shit. Now, you may ask, why you didn't say confidence? Because listen, I do have a free confidence course somewhere. I don't even know how to get to it at this point, but somewhere. I know it's in the Players Club. You can join the Players Club at the playersclub.vip. At playersclub.vip. 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 It's free in there. But the reason I didn't talk about confidence, because I can say, oh, build confidence, and I can teach you how to build confidence. But if you do these things that I said, develop self-awareness, challenge negative self-talk, set and achieve your goals, embrace your vulnerability, building a strong foundation of internal validation, the byproduct of this is confidence and authenticity and trusting yourself. This is the result. You got to trust yourself. When you have a shattered ego, you don't trust yourself. And if you don't trust yourself, I can't trust you either. You know, how can I trust you and your ego all fucked up, whether it's big or shattered? Nobody else can trust you. So, you know, trusting yourself is a big thing. Now, fellas, listen. Healing a shattered ego isn't about becoming someone new. It's about rediscovering who you really are underneath all that self-doubt, all that fear and rejection. It's about reclaiming your power and realizing that you're already enough as you are. Understand this. Failure does not define you. Rejection does not define you. Your past does not define you. What defines you is what you do moving forward. Healing starts with self-awareness, with looking in the mirror and asking yourself, what do I need to let go of to grow? Again, look in the mirror and ask yourself, what do I need to let go of to grow? Stop looking for validation from the outside world. Build a foundation of internal strength, trust, and authenticity. Take small steps, set meaningful goals, and celebrate every win. You got to celebrate yourself, even the small ones, because every step forward is a step toward the man you are meant to be. Remember, vulnerability is not a weakness. Fuck all that shit they talking about. It's a superpower. It's authenticity. Owning your emotions, taking responsibility, and striving for growth is what separates the boys from the men. The pit bulls from the poodles. You understand? The journey to healing it ain't gonna be easy, right? But it's worth it. You got this, my brother. Stay solid, stay focused, and keep building. That's all I got for you guys today. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Savor Bro Show. Remember, if you want to learn how to vet properly, you can get that right now today. I made it very, very affordable. Get it today. That price ain't going to last long. The link is in the description. If you want to join the Players Club, that's my private men's community. I was about to say free. It's my private men's community. Very affordable. You get weekly coaching with me, free courses, free workshops, the whole nine. Go to playersclub.vip. The link will be in the description. But guys, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Like, share. If you put this in the group chat, if you got a homeboy that need to hear this, if you got a little brother, a little cousin, a son, or whatever, share this with them so they can grow and they can heal. I appreciate you guys again tuning. I appreciate you guys again for tuning in. Again, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you get this good player ish fresh off the press. It's your gracious game advisor, yours truly, King Dre. I'm out. Stay solid.